All right. Late night prospect podcast today. Well, late night, at least for us. You guys are still home, kind of not quite late night, but nighttime podcast for us. And we're excited to talk to two great offensive coordinators, Coach Brian Baker and Coach Rudy Alvarez. Coach Baker out of Flower Buff and Coach Alvarez out of McCallum High School. We're excited to really talk to them. We're going to talk some run and shoot. Before we dive into that stuff, I'd love to have each coach just talk about his background in coaching and playing and kind of how he got to the certain point. So, Coach Baker, if you could kind of dive in first, and then we'll have Coach Alvarez go next.
Yeah, so I'm in my 14th year here at Flower Bluff and 7th year as offense coordinator. Or I'm sorry, 6th year as offense coordinator. And I've been doing the different things for several years now. And this past offseason, Coach Alvarez kind of introduced the run and shoot to me. And so this past year, I really started working on some different concepts. And then this past offseason, I really dove in all the way and just became all in on the run and shoot. So that's kind of my background with it.
And where did you, how long have you been at the high school that you're at currently?
Flower Bluff, I've been here for 13 years. Yes, sir.
Okay, cool. Did you play in high school, college, or?
Yeah, I played here at Flower Bluff as well, and
Okay.
I went to college at A&M and College Station. I didn't get to play there, but
Cool.
I had a chance. I coached 1 year at Caldwell before that, and then I had a chance to come home and I just kind of worked my way. Coached receivers for several years, and then our previous offense coordinator left, and Coach Alvarez was actually on the staff with us for a little while, and that's how we got to know each other. So after that, after a few years, I was able to move up into the offense coordinator role, and yeah, like I said, I mean, kind of did some different things, and I always, I thought we had a good offense here at Flower Bluff, and we've had a lot of success, but I think Coach Alvarez was at Leander Rouse, and he kind of brought up the run and shoot to me one time, and I did a little research. I was like, man, I don't know. I've always heard about the run and shoot, but I have known nothing about it. And I think that's what a lot of people are at. Is like the reason why people don't do it anymore is they really don't know a whole lot about it, in my opinion. And so I did a little bit of research, and I was able to reach out to Nick Rolovich, actually, the Washington State coach and the Hawaii coach. And I just, he was unemployed at the time, and I just started doing some research, and I messaged him on Twitter, and he responded, and he said, "Sure, we'll meet with you." And so me and Coach Alvarez were able to meet with him a few times, and in the summer, and that's kind of what led to last year. I was still kind of learning this whole process, this whole offense a little bit, but then so I kind of implemented a little bit of the run and shoot where we did the front side, back side stuff. And then this past offseason, like I said, we got in touch with a lot more people, and I just dove all in. So I'm doing pretty much as close to the old run and shoot as I can possibly get. So that's kind of the background there.
Cool. Very cool. Coach Alvarez?
Yeah, so like I said before, I've known Coach Baker for a while, worked with him in Flower Bluff. I'm in my year of coaching. I was in Corpus for a little bit, had to move back home in the Austin area, so I took a job at Elgin. Was there for 2 years, was OC by title there for a year. Went over to Leander Rouse, and really a lot of that choice stuff got introduced to me there by a good friend of mine, Dustin Pleasant, and Bryle's system. But I wanted more. You know what I mean? I wanted more to learn more about choice routes and how do we get everybody a choice route, type deal. And so that's when I kind of just, researching ball and stumbled upon the run and shoot and told Baker about it. And that's kind of how it went from there. And so my background is just different forms of spread. At the Bluff, we were more power spread, kind of air raid-ish power spread when I was there. And then when I went to Elgin, we were air raid for a little bit, and then we went to like a run and raid type deal. And then, of course, when I was at Rouse, we were the Brile system. And so now that I'm here at Austin McCallum, I've introduced run and shoot. The last OC, they still went through spring ball last year with the last offense. So I came in. I'm running some of their stuff to kind of keep it simple for the kids because I came in very late. But I introduced a lot of run and shoot, and the kids love that stuff. They love the quarterback, especially loves the front side, back side. The receivers love reading the defense, and that's probably what they love most about the offense, just in general. So we're eventually gonna move to like Coach Baker, where we're full run and shoot. But right now we're just kind of just winning ball games, getting run and shoot in, winning ball games, and then we're gonna get full run and shoot pretty soon.
With the run and shoot offense, what are some of the core fundamental things that someone who's running a run and shoot offense needs to have incorporated in their system in order to make that quote unquote run and shoot?
Well, I think for sure
you got to be able to read coverages. That's a huge thing at receiver. And then quarterbacks reading coverage. We work on that a ton, being able to recognize if it's cover 2, cover 4, cover 3, man, all that good stuff. So that's one of the biggest things.
Quarterback's biggest thing too is like footwork. You know what I mean? So like your footwork has to match the concept. Making sure that you know where you're going with the ball by your third step to go backside, all that kind of stuff. And so that's what I think that's the biggest thing me and Coach Baker took away from the run and shoot is really the quarterback footwork, if anything, more than anything else too.
And in the quarterback footwork that you guys are doing, are you running run and shoot from gun, or are you running from under center?
Gun.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm done.
Yep.
And we're doing.
I remember playing. I played in college at UConn. We played. We were FCS at the time, and we played Hofstra. And Hofstra is where that was with. Was that Joe Gardy with the Jets coach? And they were pure run and shoot, and they were under center, and they were still under center at that time. We're talking the '90s, but they were under center. That the original run and shoot, like the old Mouse Davis run and shoot, and the old. June Jones, I guess originally, his original run and shoot under center, but it's one of the most interesting offenses. I remember many years ago getting the DVDs from Mouse Davis on running the run and shoot and all the concepts and the reading the coverage for the wide receivers, and the choice routes were one of the key components. To be able to make a difference, especially on that backside when they're by themselves, because that front side roll is well, back then it used to be the roll from under gun, and they'd roll out, and you had that 3-level route concept, and the ability to take off and run from a quarterback standpoint was just crazy. And when I first started coaching, we played again. Derek's high school was pure. When you were there, was pure run and shoot, right, Derek?
100%.
Yeah. Yep. Pure run and shoot. And the team that when I very first, I was wide receiver DB coach. This is early 2000s, and Derek was in high school. But the team that was the big powerhouse also at the same time was his high school, Glen Rock, and they were pure run and shoot. But then they started to kind of adapt a couple of different things with options, stuff like that. But they were pure run and shoot. And I remember getting film on when I went and coached with this guy a couple of years later. The guy was the OC at the time. He gave me the film on his quarterback, his kid Scott Stevens. You remember him, Derek? He was maybe a couple of years before you. Yeah. He actually went and played running back in college, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. But he would roll out. And if people were covered, he'd take off and be 25 yards out of the field. And their team won I think they won 5 state championships in a row at one point before the OC went and became a head coach himself and so on and so forth. But what was so interesting about it was it was taught so well that each kind of quarterback became, depending on their skill sets, they were slightly different, but they were able to replicate that type of film you would see over and over again from the quarterback, the ability to throw to strike and be able to throw to choice routes. And it was so interesting how they would replicate it. And sometimes they had a Scott Stevens, who was maybe their best of all time, was 5'8" quarterback. But they had a 6'2" quarterback one year who they used to say was a pie thrower. He would throw pies, but he was still throwing for 2,000, 3,000 yards. And
didn't matter.
Yeah, they would adapt. They would just slightly adapt the system slightly to what the quarterback skill sets was. But most of the others, and it was just hell to play them. And we were spread option. So spread option meaning not spread option. Like got a gun, and we were Navy triple option. So it used to be a wild battle back then because you had run and shoot versus Navy triple option, and it was we were two of the better small school programs at the time, but it was just a great show, and coupled with no huddle, which they were doing, it just made it even more dynamic. But I'd love for you to talk about kind of the things that you found run and shoot really does for your kids, offensively. You talked about how they're able to read coverage. What I thought even more than that was the confidence in making their own decisions and being able to make their own decisions. So if either one of you guys can both talk about it, but just kind of take a shot at it from your standpoint.
Yeah, I'll go first. I mean, for me as a play caller, it gives me confidence in our kids because they're able to go make the play, the best play out of whatever the defense presents, no matter what. So, like a lot of times before, coming from a different offensive perspective, you're trying to scheme things up, looking for a certain look. All right, this team is showing a lot of quarters. Okay, how can I attack this? All right, and then we've all been there where you try to attack things a certain way, and then they come out in a completely different defense, and you're like,
100%.
The things that we had practiced all week are not as good anymore, and we're trying to scheme up certain things. Where in this system, first of all, it's unique, and I really like nobody runs anymore, so people aren't going to see this. And being able to throw the ball, in my opinion, is as well as you do in the run and shoot is a great way to win football games, in my opinion. But so just going back to what I said, the quarters team, and they come out and they're playing man or they're playing cover three. It's like you don't have to when those scenarios present themselves in other offenses, you have to go back to your base stuff in the passing game. Where here, you already got your base stuff that's got answers for everything. It looks like a bunch of different stuff, but it's the same stuff, if that makes sense. So your kids get confidence in that, it doesn't matter. They can do whatever. This week, we practiced against 3 cloud, cover 3 sky, cover 4, cover 2, man. I mean, they're ready for anything. So I've got confidence. Our kids got confidence once they see the success with it. And it's a good deal all around.
Yeah, I know for us, the kids are essentially coaches on the field,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll have receivers come up to me, coach, he's doing this, or they're giving me one high, or I can beat the corner on this. So they know what routes they can win based on what the coverages are and what they're seeing out there. So there may be times where, I'm looking at the right side of the line, right, to look at protection because there's a good defensive end or something. Well, I'm not looking at the whole picture in terms of what coverages they're in and stuff like that sometimes. But I'll have my receivers do it, and I'm like, all right, I trust you. And sure enough, like when you watch the film, they're right. So being coaches on the field or having coaches on the field with your kids is a big time plus in this system because, like I said, they tell us, or they tell me at least, hey, I can beat him on this, or hey, I'm going to go ahead and break it flat because the safety is too high, or whatever the situation is. So I have trust in them because they trust the system.
Yeah,
I think it's a
and
great.
I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's. I think that's no. I think that's a great. Like both of you, right? I think, Coach. Coach Baker. That was really the biggest thing for us in high school running the system, and it was that huge adjustment for me when I became a coach. Was we didn't care what somebody ran defensively, right? We just did what we did. And that's how we played, right? It wasn't like, hey, now we knew like week to week based off of the opponent, right? Like, hey, these plays are probably going to be work a little bit better than the other ones. But there was never a week that we went into where it was like, hey, we're not running this because they're doing this or any of that type of stuff. It was basically like, hey, you should probably have a better game than the other receiver because this is where the ball is going to go, right? And that was just kind of what I always thought was so great about the offense itself was, there's always answers for what they do regardless of what they do. It's not one of those things like you said, and Dave and I have this conversation all the time about, look, you draw it up all week like, hey, this guy's going to be here, you're blocking him. This guy's going to be here, you're blocking him. And then you come out on the first series and it's like, dude, nobody's in that spot. Or, hey, these guys are supposed to be here, right? And then they just don't do it because at the end of the day, it's high school football and kids, like, they're dumb, right? They don't do what they're told or whatever. But the run and shoot to me was so simple that, hey, this is what we're doing and we're going into it. And now, like, we're not worried about what you're doing. And like you said, it adds that level of confidence to the kids, right? Or to your players. Like, hey, man, we do what we do. We practice it. We might dress it up a little bit with some motions here, or, maybe we'll tweak this, or, hey, this week we got this a little bit more. But, I've been in some of these offenses where week to week, you're changing like so much stuff that the kids really never have a clue or never like fully grasp exactly what it is. And for the run and shoot, it was just so simple. When I got to college, like, boom, like, what do you mean we have to worry about this and that? And like, why don't we just run what we run? And it's like, well, this, like, I never understood that. It was really big adjustment for me as a coach to kind of figure that thing out. Plus, like with time, right? Like time-wise, as a coach in high school, you don't have that much time. So, guys, this is what we're doing, and we just practice it all. Like, this is the safe stuff, right? And I can tell you, look, this works against cover 4. This works against 3 cloud. Look, all these things work. It's just a matter of who's probably going to get the ball more or more likely to get the ball. And when you've been in the system for a while, Coach Alvarez, this is to your point, right? The receivers do understand it and start to make the call and will make those little adjustments in terms of, hey, I'm going to sit this down, or, hey, I'm going to bump this to the next window because, look, this is what it is. And it's that communication between, QB and receiver that you're always kind of just on the same page when it came to it, where I've seen systems where that's not really so much a thing. And I think that's what the run and shoot really does, or at least did for us in high school. And look, my high school still runs it to this day. I could still go to a game, watch them signaling plays and be like, oh, here it comes. You know what I mean? Same thing. And they're still winning doing it, right? And it was like they were the first to do it, and they've continued to run with it. They've tweaked their variations and kind of, evolved with it to keep it kind of fresh. But we were 100% old school. I mean, we were under center and out of gun. I've seen seasons where they've done it out of pistol. But that's the other thing too. Like, there's the ability to kind of mix and match. Well, do you guys see that too? Where you can see things like, hey, we can put this in, or we can add this to it.
Yeah, like one of the teams that we really like to follow is San Jose State because their offense coordinator is Craig Stutzman,
Yep.
former Hawaii receiver, and but talking to different guys like Dan Morrison is one of them. He's like, and we even got a chance to talk to Miles Davis a month or two ago. And
Yeah, you
was
said
pretty
that.
cool.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and but Dan Morrison would tell us like that's what Mouse wanted. He wanted people to kind of have their own touch on the offense and do things a little differently. So San Jose State, I know they're really into the RPO world, and
Right.
they do a ton of different run and shoot stuff still the same, but it's not what Hawaii looked like in 2005 with Colt Brennan, or you know what I mean. So it's a little different. They've kind of branched out a little bit, but even Nick Rolovich, when he was at Washington State, they were doing a lot of pistol. We're doing a lot of pistol this year to
Yeah.
try to prevent tendencies. So, I mean, in Hawaii this year, they're a little different than San Jose State. But I hopefully that answers your question. I mean, I think each team is kind of gonna have their own little flavor on the run and shoot.
Yeah, I think the beauty of it is instead of players looking to the sideline to you for all the answers, they're creating their answers, right? And they're learning to look at the other team and be able to understand what the answers might be. And they at first probably struggle with that, but as they learn that they're responsible for it, they get better at it. And once they get better at it, it helps them it helps them understand the game. And I think that's one of the things of the run and shoot that is different than a lot of the philosophies now, even with the spread offenses, is that it takes most of the pressure in a lot of the offenses now is on the OC to be a rock star and to the shine's on me. I call great plays. I figure out what they're doing. And the beauty of the run and shoot is that the players have the ownership, and the players have the ownership of the offense, and the offensive coordinator is really a mentor and a guiding point for them. And as they get knowledgeable in it, right? Not in the beginning, but as they get knowledgeable in the system, it becomes a guiding point, and then you can ask questions, which I think is really important in football. Is why did you make that decision? What was it you saw? Like, instead of stuck in the mode of you made the wrong decision, right? It's always like you make a wrong or right decision, right? It's more, why did you make that decision? What did you see? And then you say, well, okay, decision might have been incorrect because this is what the actual coverage was, you know what I mean? Or so on and so forth. And then it's a conversation where they can continue to get better because then they learn to recognize the things that are going on. Obviously, stuff like blitzes and this, for the quarterback and all those things take maybe even more time. But from a coverage standpoint, there are certain things they can look for and start to figure that out pretty quickly. And the beauty of it, obviously, too, with the quarterback is I'm assuming you guys put them on the I remember it used to be a big like half roll offense. I don't know if it still is, but it was a big half roll offense, and that half roll like makes the vision for them, their initial vision, a third of the field, right? So that third of the field, before they move into anything else, that third of the field creates a smaller window for them to be able to make decisions and be able to recognize the coverages, which I think is so cool. I'm curious. First of all, am I correct on that? As you guys are the run and shoot gurus, but
yeah. I mean, now, Rudy, if you want to talk on the half roll.
Yeah, so we've learned. At first, we thought when we learned the half roll, it was more like geared to just helping the quarterback and his launch point, all that kind of stuff, and get momentum towards the throw. But now, when we got more into it, we started to realize that when you watch film, the half roll really affects the secondary a lot more than you would initially think.
A ton.
Yes, you'll see a one high safety or two safeties just go across to the right,
Fly.
you're going to the right. And
Later.
yeah. And so
Yeah.
I think the half roll it's very important to the shoot for sure. But on top of that, making sure the half roll also matches the protection. I know there are some people that I'm sure it's controversial. Some people will say, well, you do the pop protection on the half roll. Some people don't, but I think if you do the half roll, you should at least match it with the protection in terms of front side being more firm compared to the back side, or like half slide where, right tackle, if you're half sliding to the right and you want to go to the right and you half roll to the right, well, that right tackle is not setting firm. You could get yourself into some issues with that.
Right.
Right, and that also gives them the ability to throw backside, right? Because if you're half slide, you're protected on the backside. You're a little more confident as a quarterback that your backside is protected versus a full roll, right? Where you're in a full, you're basically zoning, you're zoning it up, and the backside is not protected. Someone's coming with heat from the backside, and you pull up, and you don't throw in the run, or something goes wrong. Someone's chasing you full speed, right? Whereas on the half roll, you still have that backside protection. He's probably hinging the tackle, and he's got a long way to go to get around there. So you could throw that backside post, and you could hit it because those guys are moving over the top, and you could hit that skinny post, and there's nobody there. I mean, especially if the corner doesn't squeeze, right? There's nobody there. That's as I like to say, that's stealing, right? So, but obviously teams start to adapt to that, and then that gives you back the front side. That safety stays. He doesn't move with the half roll. Now your front side's in business, and especially the guy, Derek's favorite route always tells me all the time is when that guy is working up the field and making a decision whether to go across the safety or sit down, and that decision, like how many times you say you guys were open all the time? Yeah, talk about that, Derek.
It's like every time. I mean, so what we would do is anytime we would go like trips, right, and do any of that stuff based off of some of those concepts or whatever, like our third of the interior your number 3 receiver, your inside receiver would run what we would call just a DZR route. It was a downfield zone rule, right? Where if you had 2 safeties and they flew out of there, you would just bang right across his face and keep going. And then if it was one high and he flew out, you would just sit down right over the top of it. And it was like, guys would never understand that like this thing's always going to be open irregardless of what they do. And that's always going to be like your number 3. Like you're always going to have this. What we used to get guys a lot, one, we half rolled, right? A lot of it was obviously protection wise and setting your launch points and all that stuff too. But like for us at the school we were at, like we never had a quarterback that was over 6 foot, right? So getting him on a roll allowed him to be able to see over the line a little bit better, right? And he usually had like an athletic guy that now we could put him on a roll, and it was like, hey, you got this, or get out and go. Or it helped a lot too with the run game, right, too, because now you're like half rolling, and it just got your line going a little bit and helping with that kind of stuff too, getting it, moving with launch points and things like that. That way guys aren't just like teeing off, because when it was around, like for us, like it would create mismatch problems all over the place. So, when you would line up at trips and you got 2 guys walked out where neck rolls, like this is a win, right? Like getting those guys out of the box was like, all right, we're good to go, dude. Like now I think some like defenses have kind of matched that a little bit with like that tweener guy that can kind of play that a little bit. But at the same time, like we would I tell Dave all the time, 3 years in this offense, and I was with 1,000-yard rusher every year, right? Yeah. And that was, guys are like, oh, you're 4 wide. All you do is throw. Like, yeah, I was in games where we threw 70 times a game. I said, but like, I also, like I said, 10 games a season had 1,000-yard rusher every game. Like, and that was he was the one guy, right? He was the super back. That's what he was. And he was more of a fullback-ish that guys would have back then, because because he's got to be able to pass protect a lot. But then that guy got a lot of screens, right? We used to rock the screen game too as well. That was always a big deal. So it was really cool to see that too, just how you can adapt the offense obviously to like what you have within, you know, the guys in general. I think that's really awesome.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, like I said, if you look up SMU 2013, the second leading rusher in SMU history is Zach Line, who is a backup linebacker. This is coming from Dan Morrison, backup linebacker. And June Jones said, man, that's kind of what we want. And
absolutely, that was the body type. The body type was a fullback-ish, almost like an H back type of guy, right? A bigger back that could, you know, because we used to run the piss out of jet sweep and belly. Like we would hit that thing one step and just be gone, like A gap, and just look, it's either you're eating this right here and it's either you're going to stay tight track or you're going to bounce that thing out here and go. Because we never had real big linemen, right? That wasn't, you know, like for the school that I was at. So when we would spread out with what coach called accordion splits, right? Like they would move, but we were super wide, dude. And these defensive linemen, now you're basically creating one-on-ones for your offensive line, right? And now any type of stunt you're going to try, like, man, I see that thing coming a mile away, right? So it was more just like, hey, all they had to do was win their one-on-ones. And then, you know, protection-wise, it was, hey, man, like 2-point stances, right? These guys were juiced up to never have to go in a 3-point stance. Like, it was awesome, man. It was really kind of crazy. But I'm curious to know, like, do you guys work that too with your back? Are you guys primarily, are you empty, or are you, you know, 2x2 trip set? Like, what type of formations do you guys utilize within it?
I'm mostly like, before I used to love formation people. Now I've gone to almost just trips and doubles, and then I use a little bit of H-back, and then I'll get an empty every once in a while. But I like to keep the back end for protection because it's an extra guy to help the quarterback feel comfortable. If a lineman misses or something, he's gonna help out. You can block up in this protection scheme. You can block up any version of 6-man pressure. It doesn't matter. Like you could send 4 to the side. Where in slide protection, that's a lot more difficult to do. And then I think like the air raid relies on the back in the concept more a ton. Where this you can get 4 guys out in the concept, and the way we teach the quarterbacks in this system is like you're always reading a defender, and so it's like I don't think there's any other way, any other offense that can get somebody open with just 4 guys in the route, no matter what. Where the air raid, you got to rely on the back to hold a flat defender. And I'm not saying the run shoot does use a running back from time to time, but it's not very often. So I think just making the quarterback feel comfortable, being able to read a specific defender, and you're still getting somebody open is huge component for us. That's really helped out.
Why do you think people don't run it as much as they used to?
Man,
is it because of the emergence of the air raid? I'm just curious.
Okay, so and Rudy, you feel free to add on too, but I asked that to Mouse Davis, and he said, I don't know. But I asked this to Dan Morrison as well, and he said it's because June Jones wouldn't let them talk about it. He wouldn't let them go out and talk in clinics about it. He was real secretive in that way. Where the air raid had Hal Mummy, and Hal Mummy went and talked to every freaking high school in the country. Basically, I mean, we had him at our high school back in 2014, I believe, and you know, he was going everywhere, and it became a huge thing. And meanwhile, the run shoot wasn't doing that, and you know, then you saw Mike Leach with all his success and whatnot, and then June Jones kind of he got out of college for a while, and so I think that kind of coincides with why it went away. But and then going back to what I was saying earlier too, like people don't understand it. I didn't understand it, air raid is a lot simpler to understand, in my opinion.
Right.
The run and shoot there's a lot more to it. So it's hard for people to run what they don't understand.
I would say like especially like in my area where I'm from, in the Austin area, I've talked to several head coaches, just trying to pick their brains. And the one thing that they always kind of go back to when they ask, what they want, when I ask them what they want in the offense, oh, I want something easy. The quarterback makes a read to one receiver, maybe two, and that's it.
Right.
I think just the nature of throwing the ball scares people. And I mean, I don't blame them. I understand that. I really do. But I think it's because I think me and Baker have talked one time, and it's geared to where they just don't know how to coach it. They don't know how to teach it. They just don't fully understand what you can actually get out of a high school kid throwing the ball. And then, of course, I think another big reason is the Baylor system. It's run and shoot to some extent, right, with choice routes, but you're looking at a receiver, maybe two, and then plus it's also tempo. That's kind of what we were at Rouse. We were the Browse system where it's tempo, choice routes. But the thing is, like with the tempo, it's like you got to know where you're going now. Boom, balls out, balls out, balls out. And I think that's kind of it's simpler for sure, but I think that's kind of why people don't run the shoot, because it's not as simple. And at Rouse, we were able to get away with having more concepts because of it. You know what I'm saying? We can throw more things in there. When the shoot, you just work your 10, 15, whatever it is, concepts that are the base offense. You just run it and you run it. That's it. You know what I mean? So I that's kind of my take as to why it's not being ran as much.
I think that's a great point. I think also I think the education part is a big part of it. Like I had to dig into DVDs. Obviously, I know Derek, so we've talked about it to an extent. But I had to dig into Mouse Davis DVDs, and there's not that many to find on it. So you really have to want to find it. Although now I told Derek there's a site called I can't believe it just slipped my mind.
Offense.com.
Well, no, there's that site, but there's a site that Scribd. Have you ever heard of Scribd? It's SCRIBD, and you can get a subscription. You type in any thing, like anything you want, and anything, but anything. But I started doing it with football. Like you could pull up any PDF basically that's ever been presented, and you can find all these different things. Yeah, it's Scribd. It's pretty wild. Yeah, it's really, really cool. Like you can find Montana from 98, you know what I mean? Like those kind of things, run and shoot, and all those kind of things. And it's pretty cool. But you're right, the information is hard. And then, when Noel Mazzone really pushed the end zone system, that became a second system that a lot of people run. And Noel Mazzone was doing clinics on it and giving certifications on it. So those two systems were starting to encompass, and then you had Tony Franklin, which was running his system of spread, which he basically was giving away, and they were all using the end zone, and Tony Franklin for a long time used when the Glacier clinics were a pretty big thing for a long time. They were using the Glacier clinics to get it out there to hundreds of high schools, and I think that probably because people. Coaches are creatures of habit, and they get, I can get all the information on this. This guy will come out and do it. I don't have to do anything, and I could just learn it from him directly. It made it easier for them. But it was always if I hadn't coached against it, I should say, and then played against it myself, I wouldn't have had any reason to find out information on it. But it was just so effective. It was so effective. We played against him. I remember when Hofstra beat us, and I was like, this was the mid-90s. I'm like, good golly, I was a linebacker, and I'm like, Coach, can I just blitz? Getting into coverage. This is guys are going. I didn't know where the guys are coming from. They're going all over the place, catching balls in front of me, behind me. I didn't know what was going on, and they're running one play zone, with the running back, and then they just it was wild. And And they had, who was the quarterback they had? He ended up playing many years in the NFL. He played at San Francisco. I can't think of his name now. But he was a heck of a quarterback for Hofstra. But it was funny because we played them, and they had a small quarterback. He was like 5'9", 5'10", and BU used to run it also. There was a quarterback named Doherty in the early, like 94, when BU actually had a football program before it really went to crap. I played in that old Yankee conference, and Doherty, they won the conference championship. He was 5'8" in college. He was 5. They used to call him like the mini Flutie because he was in Boston also, and he was throwing the ball over the yard, and it was wild to see, and it was so interesting in how effective they were with the passing game. And that's the thing. That was when really nobody really threw. They were so effective, and then it spread to New Jersey. It spread. Obviously where Derek was, and it spread to where all of a sudden I was coaching, and I remember having to coach against it. And I remember our defensive coordinator was like, yeah, we're going to, I'm like, how are you going to cover the receivers like that? Like that you're never going to cover them that way. Like we're going to, they originally would just like have like one guy out there and there's 3 guys. I'm like, they're just going to throw the ball for like 9,000 yards against us, and we started to like cover people, but it was always a dilemma because it didn't matter what coverage you played, they had an answer for it. So it was still always difficult, and some guys added in dive option with it, which made it even more difficult because the dive option now gave that quarterback a real quick way to get outside and run the ball because you're so worried about all these other things. It's so interesting from that standpoint of how it is, and what obviously Hawaii did. What are you seeing as far as like what do guys do when they play you that you and without you having to give away any of your secrets, by the way, just in case any of your competition's listening. But what are some of the quick things that you think to yourself and you say, you know what, I see this, I'm just like, it's lights out.
Well, I'll go first real quick. I remember hearing if you'd rather see, maybe it was June Jones, where would you rather face a drop 8 team or a team that just blitzes all the time? He said blitzes because you make one guy miss, it's a touchdown. So, I mean, probably blitzing. Blitzing playing man would be, we're lights out. Because I feel confident about being able to pick up pressures, getting the ball out quickly. That's one thing we emphasize too in this offense is not holding onto the ball, So we're going to get the ball out pretty quick. And, I mean, if the team wants to just heat us up, I feel good about it.
For me, it's spot dropping linebackers with their eyes in the backfield. We faced, and the kids just make their routes they make their breaks based off the safeties and what they're doing, and the linebackers are just watching the quarterback, so they sneak behind them, and the quarterback knows I got to hit this window instead of the second window, right, or maybe I have to hit the second window. So that's actually been when we face teams like that. That's actually been rewarding to see. Is like, oh, spot dropping backers, eyes in the backfield, awesome.
You're like, thank you, appreciate it.
Yeah.
Like, we'll take it. And it's literally just like, I mean, look, you can literally put that on tape, right? When guys are going to do this and be like, guys, you see this drill we're running here, right? You see, how we settle news and we do all this stuff. Like, this is the drill right here. To the next window, sit in the zone, right? Throw it. I thought that's something too about the offense itself. Depending on who we saw and how they wanted to cover it and do that, like it was really just kind of like, hey, you guys do whatever you want because there's nothing that's going to put us. The only thing that's going to beat us is us, right? Like that's kind of the mentality that you kind of go into it with in this offense, right? Like, look, they can line up 0, right? And they can man up all of us, right? And if we can't get off jams, then we're going to have a long day. And that's on us, right? Like, or, hey, you can drop to all these zones. And like, if we don't, have our routes crisp and the ball doesn't come out when it needs to come out, like they're probably going to get their hands on it, right? But if we do what we're supposed to do and execute right, and then we should be okay. And I think that's for kids in high school, to me, like you said, I think it just builds that confidence of once you get a little bit, then you're ready to go. If for us, like the one thing that they always said to us when I became a coach and I asked guys who had, kind of been DCs against us or things like that, or, other offense, other run and shoot guys, like, hey, what don't you like? And it was A gap pressure because it happens right now, right? That's the only one that was ever like, if you had to do something. But I mean, look, how many are you going to A gap pressure every play? Like if you are, kudos to you, because I don't know many people that are going to get away with it because we're going to figure it out, whatever we have to do. And then, like you said, like we're going to break one and it's going to be a big play. So that was the one thing for us was like, hey, if we see A gap pressure, it might take a little while for us to hit it and get going, but that's ultimately like, what gave us the most fits when we were kind of in it. But I think it's interesting too, because, just thinking back to like, and I'm laughing because like some of the things that we watched defenses like try to do to us, I mean, it was like incredible. Like, if we had like a real dominant receiver, like you'd see them walk a linebacker out and then put a DB over him, or you'd just see guys like, they'd be all lined up at like 5 yards, standing up, like no D line, and guys just like coming in every direction to try. Like, I mean, some defensive guys, they dug deep, man, to like try anything possible to make whatever work. I mean, it was really interesting to see some of the things. I'm curious for you guys, what about like pace, tempo? How do you guys utilize that, or do you?
Well, what was the question? I'm sorry.
How do you guys, what do you do? Do you guys, what about like pace and your tempo? Like, are you guys super fast? Are you, look to the sideline? I know in Texas now you can use go routes. So, I mean, shit, like that's pretty awesome. Like,
personally, I don't feel the need to tempo quite as much as I did before because I want to be able to have my quarterback feel comfortable with what he's seen in the defense to get him to hopefully process things a little better and get him to make the quickest and best decision. Now, I'm not saying I'm not going to not tempo at all, but I used to like tempo a lot, but now I feel like I let the clock bleed a little bit more. I don't want to like bring it all the way down to 5 seconds every time, you know what I mean? But I'm just going to, all right, slightly more methodical, just to help the quarterback out. That's kind of my thought process there.
I know for us, I'm with Baker on that too. Like I know, like introducing the offense to the quarterback and teaching him, he sits there and he looks. I mean, if you watch like old Hawaii or any of the run and shoot guys, they kind of sit there, check the defense, look back and forth, kind of see what they're gonna get. And that's what he does a real good job of. But he also understands that there are some plays where we do go tempo on, and it's simple stuff like the old 14-15 play. That's a tempo play for us, you know what I mean? But for the most part, we're not really tempo. We can do it for a few plays, but those are just a few plays that we do it on, and that's about it. But we're kind of along the lines of reading the defense, looking pre-snap, what's the corner doing? All right, well, who's my read backside? All that kind of stuff. So,
and to that point too, like part of the thing with tempo is scoring fast. I feel like we can still score pretty damn fast in just a couple of plays without having to go tempo. So I don't think it's as needed in this offense, at least from my perspective. I
agree. I just think that a lot of guys kind of, they think 4 wide receivers and hey, we got to go fast. As faster is not always better. I think, like you said, the word, like you want to have levels of it. Obviously, we know there are certain situations that require us to go faster, but I remember just by default, just being 4 wide, no huddle, teams used to think we were going to go fast, and we really did. I mean, we took our time, and it was, make sure we're in the right set. I also think, and Coach, you hit on this a little bit earlier. the fact that you're mainly now doubles and trips, right? Because I mean, when we were in high school, like maybe we went empty, maybe, but we were we were 2x2 or trips right, trips left, and that was it. Like I'm telling you, and that's just now. All right, maybe we would line up in 2x2 and motion to trips, right? And then we would run jet sweep out of that or something of that nature. Like, but that was it. And so it just wasn't a lot, but we did so much of the same. Like we did it so much that we just knew it, and we were just rocking with it. I just to explain that a little bit, like just your kids got to be juiced that like, oh man, coach, this is all we have to do. Like, this is great. Like, I'm sure they're probably itching for like, why don't we do this? Why don't we line up? We used to stack every now and then in trips. We would stack guys out on the outside, right?
Yeah.
We'd literally go 1, 2, 3. And that would screw with some teams. And then with doubles, we would. So we had 5 formations, give or take. But I'm sure you get some pressure in terms of like, hey, why don't you do this or why don't you do that? What do you kind of say to those guys? Like, hey, man, this is why we do it. Like, this is the reasoning for it.
Yeah, I mean, for me especially, because I used to love the formation people. I used to love to get in, I don't know, like 15 different types of formations a game. And I think that used to be able to help us. But now with all the different things going on in the passing game, and it's also a little bit of desire wanting to be more of a purist as a run and shoot guy, because I know that's how they are, is doubles and trips. But I also think it helps their quarterbacks. Like as we went along last year, we weren't run and shoot all the way last year, but I started getting simpler and simpler, noticing that like it's easier for the quarterback to identify coverages when you're in doubles or trips than if you get in some funky formations, and it's like, well, it's not as easy to identify, and that makes it hard to process. You know what I mean? So, and I have gotten some questions, but I just, I think as I've kind of sold it to the coaches and being able to talk to all these very reputable coaches that have had a lot of success, they've seen why we're doing this. It's like, okay, this is going to get us right no matter what. We don't necessarily have to get into these other formations anymore. And so I think, there are a certain number of looks that you're going to get in trips in trips. There's a certain number of looks you're going to get in doubles, where, like, going back to what I was saying, like you get in whatever, some kind of X over formation or 2-back. Now you're just adding for more things for them to process, and makes it more difficult. You just get really good at those and, have your answers, and you should be able to be good no matter what.
No doubt about it. And I think that's the beauty of, not having to go into, you can play fast if you want to. They can recognize the same. They're getting similar looks. They know what to identify by not having 9,000 different formations. Like there's different philosophies on it. But if you're going to be formation heavy, and even you can't run a million plays, you got to be. Your user formations is window dressing. But if you're going to have less formations, you can have variability and with like the run and shoot gives you with being able to adapt to how they play it, right? And keep certain things the same. Like they know, okay, we're in this. Most likely, it's going to be this alignment or this alignment, and you're able to make those and repping it over and over again, right? So, what does a practice look like in a run and shoot?
Well, not too much indie. I can say that. Not too much indie, that's for sure. A lot of 7-on-7 routes on air, big, obviously, because you're throwing the ball, And the one thing that I know Coach Baker and I kind of not touched on, but kind of really emphasized was, and we learned it from Rolovich, is not having a blitz period, but have blitzes built in, right? Because obviously, as run and shoot, you gotta know where your hots are, you gotta know where your man beaters are, but especially when on the route conversions. But if you bring blitzes all the time and show 4-cross man, you're not really doing anything for yourself. So you got to sprinkle it in with team, so that way the receivers see it and they don't get used to just training. Okay, it's blitz period. I'm always going to run a speed out. I'm always going to run a slant. You know what I mean? And so that's kind of a big part of run and shoot is not having a blitz period, but getting blitzes built into your team.
Coach, anything else to add on that, Coach Baker?
Yeah, well, we definitely have placed an emphasis on the blitzes or different blitzes because, like I said earlier, I mean, teams that's how they think they can get to us, bring pressure from all over the place. You were talking about, we called it the radar defense last week. They're just standing up and moving around. We were calling it radar. They were trying that crap. They were giving us a bare front last week. They were just, but we're, twisting guys where, before, when we have to throw the ball, when we're not as reliant on picking up pressures and stuff like that, it took us a lot longer to be able to pick up twists and stuff like that and all the different games they want to play up front. So now that it's an everyday emphasis, our front has become really, really good at that stuff. Knock on wood, right? So still got a lot of season left to play, but it's been you have to work different pressures all the time and be able to just be comfortable with it. And if they want to bring 7, you have answers, and you're fine. You're bringing that back. You're leaving that backside guy, and your quarterback's getting the ball out on his third step. It's a long way for that guy to go, and so again, going back to what I was saying, you got answers for everything.
Yeah, I think that's obviously the biggest takeaway is they got answers for everything. And that changes the dynamic. I mean, that part in the air raid, like, they both believe that that's a similarity in the sense that they always have an answer for everything. The run and shoot relies less on mesh though. Which is
well, June Jones was on mesh his last couple of years at SMU. He had Hal Mummy as his OC, so
there you go.
He kind of blended it a little bit.
He blended it in. He blended it in. Yeah, it's well, I think that obviously the ability you can strike real quick, being able to utilize the run and shoot. And do you look for a particular guy at quarterback? I'm curious. And I talked a little bit about it early on, like how this one group, it didn't matter whatever the guy who was to be the quarterback was, they were slightly adapted and still kind of run most of what they were running. Do you have a particular guy? Do you look for a type of skill set or personality as a quarterback for run and shoot?
I mean, being able to, in every offense, probably gonna say this, being an accurate thrower, being able to get the ball out quick, it doesn't, like you said, the size doesn't really matter. Our quarterback this year is probably 5'9". Quarterback last year was probably 5'10". So being able to move, our backup quarterback's about 5'6". Let's see. The thing about it though, training quarterbacks is so much, like all these quarterbacks these days have quarterback trainers they go to. So they're obviously not going to be working these specific drops or their eyes in a certain way. But I've realized it's not as hard. You spend time in the off season going over the drops. We do the back pedal drop at an angle to the left, which I've really become a huge fan of. And then obviously if you're a right-handed quarterback, we're going just drifting to the right. But as long as they can throw the ball and they're smart enough to process different defenses, and I'll take any shape and size of quarterback we can get. It definitely helps having a dual threat quarterback, like in any offense. Coach Alvarez was talking about spot droppers earlier, and we've got a dual threat guy. We don't have a lot of design runs with him, but he's able to extend plays. And so you better spot drop, or if you turn your back to him, he's going to take off for at least 20. So if we can get a guy that can run also, I mean, that's a huge thing. But if not, he'd be able to throw the ball, get it out quick, make accurate throws, make good decisions. That's like any offense. That's kind of what we're looking for. And at high school, you don't have the ability to recruit, so you kind of got to take and get there. So, yeah,
No doubt. I don't know if Coach. I think we might have Coach Alvarez. Anything to add on that?
No, he kind of hit the nail on
Yeah.
the cover on that one for sure.
No doubt about it. Well, it's such a great system. It's cool that you guys you're at least reviving it in Texas, and being able to continue to implement that system. It's been awesome having you on, talking a little run and shoot. We get you guys on here after the season, and we'll let you open up the coffers here. You know, we don't want you to have to give away too much before next week's game, just in case one of your opponents pulls up a film on this and looks it up on it. But we'll get you back, get you guys on the board, and get some scenarios going. But really cool stuff. It's been great having you on, and best of luck this week and the rest of the season.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll give you something good after the season for sure. I'll give you something real good that's gonna blow your minds up for sure.
That's what we look forward to. So yeah, as soon as
the teasers
isn't over till late December, but January we grab you guys and we'll go through it. That'll be phenomenal.
Sounds good. Thank you guys.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate you taking the time. Good luck, man. Take care, guys.
Thank you.
All right, Coach. Bye.
Take care.
Bye. That was great. Great stuff, dude.
Little something different.
Yep. I had some attempted hackers in here that I was able to
That's the first
squash.
time. Nighttime, buddy. First time we've
Maybe
ever had
nighttime. First time in almost, I would say, like 3 or 4 years since that's happened. I was able just to quickly, obviously since I can see it all, I can just go ban. But
Plus, you're savvy.
Like, yeah. When I know who's coming on, and I hear that like boop, I'm like, oh, I immediately know. You know what I mean? Like, because who else is trying to get on? Somebody. It wouldn't be mine, I don't think, because they would have taken over the or yours, because they would have been able to take over. Because we have admin access, you know what I mean? So they wouldn't even have to, they could bypass it and go right in there. So it would have to be like, and I have one of those VPNs on my computer because I'm always paranoid about that to begin with. Because, as much as you go online, like people are always looking for any vulnerability. But yeah, so somebody's internet has to get computer's got to get scrubbed. Oh my goodness! I think I knocked off like 5 or 6 guys. But, yeah, quick ban, boom, ban.
Yeah.
But no, it's really interesting stuff. Like, I mean, getting those guys on after season will be even more valuable, because
when they could sit there and actually draw stuff up. I knew that wasn't going to be part of it. It was more of like how the hell or why the hell did like you two guys just all of a sudden like
right,
and then when they said, when they both had told me like, oh yeah, well we've talked to Coach, we've talked to Mouse Davis, we've talked to Nick, what's his name from the guy that was at Hawaii, Rakakovich or whatever his name is, Rolovich, and I'm like, really? Like, okay, like you guys are in it, you know what I mean? Like, okay, that means like now I know you're like doing your homework and you're like actually like wanting to be a part of it. It's kind of interesting though, like they said, like the simplicity of it, man. It's just really, like you said, it's because guys don't know it, because nobody was ever allowed to go out and talk about it and clinic on it, that more guys don't do it, because I really think that if they were allowed to do that or whatever, and more guys knew, like they would see how simple it is and would help those guys. You know what I mean? Like, it's freaking awesome.
I agree. It's a fantastic. a fantastic offense that is very, very often not understood by a lot of people. So,
Absolutely.
whereas defensive coaches can understand mesh, the end zone, I would say like it's a great offense. I literally, once I had the clinic come to me, I was like, oh, if I have enough guys, obviously we don't have the guys, doesn't matter, but if I have the guys, I know exactly how to play this defense. The run and shoot is one of the few, I think one of the few offenses that is very difficult no matter what style of defense you play. And it's and I guess air raid is too, but like one of the things to me about air raid is that although everybody's kind of like, even Lane Kiffin has taken his version of it, like it's so QB and running back heavy, like they run so much, they run pin and pull, they run, same thing with the guy out at USC, like they run pin and pull. And so that part's changed about air raid, but like the pure Mike Leach air raid, one of the things that I thought was easy because the mesh takes a little bit of time to get across the field. If you can force the quarterback to make some of those tougher decisions, and you were able to stop the run, then they're really limited to just throwing the ball every down, and then you have a chance if that's the case, and you can kind of get after the quarterback, because there's no doubt with mesh, someone's going to be slow on their read once in a while, and they're going to get ear hole. You know what I mean? So
100%.
That's what the run and shoot does not have. The run and shoot has the ability to get rid of the ball now, which is part of the beauty of it. Whereas the mesh, like, I mean, Mike Leach would sit there and, he was alive, but, God rest his soul, great coach. But, like, that's where they used the verticals was a big deal in air raid, because it allowed you to, like, throw the quick strike on the inside verticals and throw back shoulder quickly and get rid of it. Because in mesh, and then they adapted it where the guy sits down over, in front of the safety or in the window. But even that still takes a little bit of time, honestly. Like, that still takes a little bit. He's got to sprint to there, sit, and quarterback's got to be willing to let the mesh happen. It's like
you got to be patient while all that's bearing down on you, and then you got to throw to a moving target going, like this way, dude.
That's not. And that's why they have to rep only they can only rep a few plays, really, because how can you rep a lot of plays if the quarterback is throwing across, literally like sideways, you know what I mean, at a low depth.
And with the run and shoot, like, it's for the most part, it's like, look, it's gonna be in this window, or here's where the grass, like, you're throwing to more of a spot, not so much, like, you know what I mean, like, it's just an easier whatever. And the half roll stuff, man, like, for QBs, like, that now puts everything, like, you know what I mean, like, you're not going, progression. Here it is. Like, it cuts down the amount of work in a way, and for a high school guy, it's just, hey, it's there. If it's not, like, it makes it really simple.
And I like, that was one of the things that the creating less of a window for the quarterback to read through, like making the third of field versus half
the whole damn thing, or whatever it is.
The whole damn thing is, I still think the whole damn thing is, unless you're really, really at a super high level, college or pro, like the whole field is, it's kind of insane to me. But there are people that do that in high school. They make them read the whole field. Like, when I hear a guy say, he's got to be able to read the whole field, I'm like, what?
You're like, what? You're like, all right, well, I hope you got one. Hope you have one hell of an offensive line, bro.
You know what the whole field would have been for me if I was a quarterback and a coach said it to me, and if I was in high school and I was a quarterback and I was an athlete that could run, the whole field would mean to me this: my initial window of read doesn't show, I'm taking off and running. That's the whole field for me, because there's no way I'm getting back across to the other side of the field.
I 100% agree.
It's just forget it. You're gonna, like, I tell, even like with the young kids, with if we do mesh, I just say, dude, you don't like I don't have the patience, and I don't think you should have the patience. If guys don't get across fast, they're too slow running across. You don't feel like you feel like that shit's taking too long. Just run.
That's it, man. Just
run. Just run.
Go. Because
Yep.
because you're and that decision is gonna help you more than a lot of other things. So go.
Yeah, exactly. It's gonna and it'll eventually open up your mesh probably a little more. If you take off through one of those A gaps and you scoot for 25 yards, and they're like, coach is like, you guys can't abandon the box, and then you'll have your mesh. So, but it's good stuff it's great offense. It's great offense, and I think that those guys. I looked at the points he scored in one of the games. Alvarez, it was crazy. I want to say he scored like 63 or something.
And they're slinging it, dude.
Yeah, they're definitely slinging it. There's no doubt about it. Definitely slinging it. So pretty cool stuff. All right, man. Well, wait, are we tomorrow too? Yeah, tomorrow 12, right?
Yeah, tomorrow. Yep, tomorrow we're at 12. Yep. Coach Mike Barfield from Cortland High School, upstate New York.
Perfect. All right. Then we will
right.
we'll talk to Coach tomorrow and get some sleep, and we'll see you then.
Rock and roll.
All right. Bye. Get some sleep.
Yeah, buddy.